So, spawning up in the top left-hand position of Frost, we have got the red Zerg player. Representing Vega Squadron, Firecake. And his opponent, to the bottom left, the blue Terran. From Alien Invasion, Strelok.
Alright. Map is Frost.
Really popular,
East spawn
actually.
locations. Sorry?
Really popular Frost. So
Yeah,
far
it
today.
is. It is. It's probably I would say it's the most balanced 4-player map we've seen in quite a while. And you know, this is not bad. This is not going to be bad for either player, really. Firecake is going to be very happy as soon as he realizes that they're not in horizontal spawns, and Strelok is going to be pretty happy when he realizes that they're not cross spawns. So this is kind of a bit of a compromise for them both, and I think I would be very, very, very surprised if we saw Strelok go bio. Every now and then we'll have some of the mech maestros like Goody or Avilo. We'll see them go, like, try to make bio work, but I don't really remember seeing Strelok do anything biocentric in the last long time, so I would definitely expect mech out of him.
Well, Strelok isn't on the best form actually against Zerg at the moment. He's only got about a 44% win rate, so in that regard, Firecake is looking slightly stronger, although he's only got a 50% win rate. So with that, neither player massively confident in this matchup, both just around average for it, and that could lead us to some very interesting, maybe passive play in this first few games. Being a best of 5, having that spot in Premier on the line puts a lot of pressure on these players, because unlike last season's WCS, for anyone joining us and wondering what the new format entails, these two play out in a best of 5. The winner, Premier, the loser has to re-qualify next season. That is harsh, it is tough, but we're going to see one of them unfortunately have to do that today.
Yeah, and it's really do or die time for these guys now. It's a very, very different format from last season. It's both easier to get into Premier and easier to go all the way down and be knocked out completely. So, well, we'll have to see exactly what these guys have planned, because you generally don't want it to be super, super predictable in a series like this. And, you know, that may have been a bit of A-Bomb's downfall, because Happy just didn't play all too... He didn't play like he was expecting any sort of cheese, or didn't play super duper epically safe, because A-Bomb's not a kind of guy who plays really early aggression, and it looked like Happy really had his number there. So we'll have to see if these guys do try to switch it up a little bit, and one way that Strelok could switch it up is by going full bio at some point in the series, but we are just going to have to wait and see on that count. We have a second gas going down for Strelok pretty early, as is. And looks like we don't see a Reaper opening out of Strelok, so it looks like we're going to be seeing the factory straight away.
To be expected, mainly. Meanwhile, over at Firecake's side, he's got speed coming down, pulled drones out of gas, so now just going to be pumping as many workers as he can, looking to get up a third base potentially quite quickly. In terms of this mech build from Strelok though, in your mind, Penguin, as a Zerg player yourself, what do you expect Firecake to do to respond?
I don't know. If it is mech, I would be pretty surprised to not see him go for a Swarm Host-centric style. You don't have to open Swarm Host straight away, but he could go for something like a 1-1 Roach timing. He could play Roach-based. Another way you can play against mech is with heavy Mutalisk play since the Mine nerf. That is something that is viable with Double Spire. There's mass expanding, trying to get up to the 10 gases, and okay, we're going to be seeing... This is pretty cool, but basically Firecake just wants to get some creep down. So he's going to plant the creep tumor down there, and that's a really great way to just start your creep spread, just sort of jump-start it a little bit. And it's something that I think TLO was the first person who really started doing that. And Firecake should be grabbing a third base behind this, and yep, he is right there.
All looking good for both these two players at the moment. Strelok has his starport already on its way out. The first Hellions getting produced too. A Tech Lab being added onto that, so we should be seeing some Banshee coming down from the Terran player early on in this series. Meanwhile, Firecake back to getting a little bit of gas trickling through. Not much, I might add. He's only just pulled those back through. So speed is coming down. Firecake going for a little extractor trick as he was momentarily supply blocked. But adding in the second gas geyser and the third base just means he's going along the very normal path, going ready for Lair to get started at 100 gas.
Yeah, and that's really good when we're going to be able to tell what he wants to do here. He'll probably be looking to add on a couple of additional gases, going up to either 3 or 4 when he does grab that Lair tech. It's going to be Cloak Banshees out of Strelok, so not too surprising to see a Banshee follow up with a factory that fast, but it's always the question of, is it going to be Cloak or is it not going to be Cloak? And in this case, it is going to be Cloak, which really is going to allow him to do quite a bit of damage to the Queens, potentially, and he's already going to start firing away at one of these Queens with the Hellions. not really going to be able to do too much with only 4 of them, but he is continuing to produce them pretty much non-stop, and he will confirm the existence of this relatively early third base. And with the Roach Warren only just now starting, there's not really all that much to stop this from doing stuff, and, well, Strelok misses an opportunity to jump into the main, but he will be able to roast some Lings here. Does lose a Hellion.
One Hellion going down isn't the end of the world. Still some drones are getting taken out. That was actually the first one to go down so far this game. All in all, Firecake doing a good job of defending this. With this Roach Warren, and of course the Evolution Chamber now researching +1 missile attack, he's got a tighter choke there. But now seeing the existence of the Banshee, Spore Crawlers get become.
Yeah, this is definitely mech at this point. We don't see any stim on the way. We do have Tech Lab actually coming up on the barracks, so I guess there could still be stim coming out of that, and that'll be the final telltale sign. What's he going to do with that? And yeah, he's not starting stim or anything, so it is looking like mech 100%. We do have a Raven coming out pretty early as well, which I do like as well.
Yeah, one Raven coming out definitely aids a lot in terms of the later play. It lets you, if nothing else, start pushing back.
Oh, the Lings surrounding
nice
all
play.
the Hellions.
Only one Hellion survives. 10 HP will go down too. That was very nicely done by Firecake, who's got a 12 supply advantage now. Another Banshee was trying to go into the natural base, but unfortunately gets no kills, just takes a significant amount of fire from that Spore and Queen.
Yeah, the other Banshee not really able to get all too much done against drones or anything either. Also just trying to go for some Ling pickoffs. Not really what you want in a Banshee ideally. And the additional factories are looking to complete right about now. With the third CC nearing completion as well, Strelok will probably look to fortify that out at his third base location as soon as possible as well. And we have double armories coming up for him too. So the double upgrades for our mech player will be starting relatively soon. And it looks like it's going to be Spire out of Firecake. That's going to be his choice to deal with the mech.
And how do you reckon that's going to play out, Penguin? Because most players probably more used to seeing a lot of roaches up against mech until the tank count gets high. Do you think this is going to be effective?
First of all, there's still 2 gases that haven't been taken, and he's got 6 guys mining out of 1 gas in the third base instead of 3 and 3. So Firecake's gas income right now is absolutely abysmal, which means he's not really going to be able to make all too many mutas when that pops. He's going to need to notice that oh god, he needs to look at his third base at some point. Please, please, Firecake. That looks painful. And meanwhile, we actually just have another little push coming out of Strelok. He's got some more Hellions on the map right now. Blue Flame's nowhere near done, so it's not really going to be able to come into effect on this push, but he is going to be able to pick off a lot of those creep tumors at the front with that Raven, which I really, really like. That's a great response. I think he actually specifically went for that Raven just because the creep was started so offensively from Firecake, so able to clear that up. But Firecake just plants down the creep tumors right away again. Going to continue trying to move on forward with that creep.
+1, of course, is now done for Firecake's ranged ground
Bit of a
units.
Ling run by in the third.
A couple of Lings will get a few kills, but Tank's coming over, going to try and pick that off. Getting more damage than Strelok would have liked to have happened, but he's going in with Hellions of his own towards the third base of Firecake to try and level that out.
Well, at the very least, maybe this will let Firecake notice that he has 6 guys in gas. No, he still doesn't notice. And, well, the Hellions are going to go down now. Blue Flame revealed. Muta's coming on out. Mutas were also revealed, and he's still got 6 guys in that gas, Metals.
And that
really hurts. That's a pretty significant... I mean, having 1 extra guy in gas is not that big a deal, but this is 3 drones that essentially are just taking up supply and doing nothing right now.
And of course, Strelok isn't that far behind economically. Even after losing a good number of workers, he killed a similar number too with that Hellion play. There's also a few Thors on the field already. With only 2 down, it's good to deal with the Mutalisks this way, but it's worth noting the Hellions were also able to scout down that a Spire was there. So missile turrets are getting produced. The Thor's a bit out of position though, allowing these Mutalisks to pick off a couple of SCVs, but for the moment only 8 mutas on the map.
Yeah, nothing too risky. The initial... I mentioned that he didn't have that much gas banked up, and the initial... I don't even want to call it a flock, because the initial production wave of mutas was 3 Mutalisks, so he's up to 4 offensively now. He's got 4 more on the map that are looking to join up, as you mentioned, and he is taking a 4th base with the Infestation Pit just now finishing up. Are we going to see Enduring Locusts? Yes, we are! Swarm Hosts are on the menu.
I got some water and a little bit to munch on. Did you, Penguin? Did you have that foresight?
I have an iced tea right next to me, and I have people who will bring me food if I need it.
I'm not sure if I can convince the studio staff to do that. I'll have to try. But yeah, this is actually a good response. We mentioned it before, and all joking aside, up against mech, Swarm Hosts do very well. You can just start sieging in. They're a great siege line breaker. With the Hive coming down too, a couple of Vipers, a few good blinding clouds on clumped up siege tanks allow you to get through. But one thing you've got to be careful of is not losing drones, as Firecake currently is to a Hellbat drop.
Yeah, he didn't lose all too much by the looks of it. 6 going down, which is not great, but it's not catastrophic either, especially with the 4th base already up. And, well, is going to be looking to be a bit aggressive here. He's already almost maxed at the 1430 mark, which is pretty significant considering that he's got so many different tech paths and already a couple of upgrades done as well. And a good number of swarm hosts are already on the map. We have 5 on the map, 6 in production, and he will be able to siege up. Clumping up his mutas. Doesn't actually lose any, though, by the looks of it. He does pick off an SCV, so ballsy move, paying off a little bit for Firecake there, delaying that expansion. And he's actually taking he's taking a 5th base at the 4th base of Strelok, so...
Well, that doubles up with blocking it.
Base.
If doubles up with blocking it down, it's going to be really annoying, and it's probably not going to go scouted for quite a long time, so I like that little move. If the swarm hosts as well can position themselves around by this Zalnaga tower, wave upon wave is going to be heading down towards this 3rd, and it's going to be very awkward for Strelok to get over there anyway, so it's actually quite an easy base to defend at this stage. Add in the Ultras now as well, and the Hydra Den. We've got pretty much every tech path now from Firecake.
Pretty much, and the initial swarm host waves are starting to move on in. They won't be able to do all too much, but, well, actually, I take that back, doing a ton of damage to that first Thor there. And, well, they are going to continue pressuring here on the 3rd base, doing quite a bit of damage with those +2 upgrades. And, you know, the 5th base is actually scouted already by Strelok, but he can't really do much about that because the Locusts are on his front doorstep.
And they're just going to start coming wave after wave. These supply depots aren't dead yet, but the tank's just even unable to take out these Locusts quickly enough. So they're already chipping away. It's such a frustrating position to be in as Strelok, knowing that you're just getting worn down. You're eroded in all of your defense, and that's how Firecake loves to play, just slowly working it through. And behind this, Firecake, he's got great tech coming up. He's got the +3 missile attack coming down. However, Strelok is soon to have the 2-2 upgrades. A couple of Hellbats are in here, going to try and do some damage, but the Spine Call is poking away nicely.
Yeah, he's not really focusing with this. He could have actually killed a lot of workers if he'd focused properly, and he is going to do that now. Okay.
Oh, we've got a small move forward here by Strelok, Penguin, and the Locusts are starting to fall, but they're still pushing in wave after wave. Good scan is going to allow these Cloak Banshee to try and get some damage done, but Overseers and Mutalisks there scare the Banshee back again.
There's not that many tanks in the front lines. There's a good amount on the high ground, but they're able to close the distance with those Thors and start to get some damage done. A Hellbat goes down to the front, another Hellbat's going to go down almost. And you know, those small pickoffs, we point this out every time we have to cast a game like this, where you're not losing much, but your opponent's not losing anything. Another Hellbat going down. This is just slowly but surely. Another one. It's just 100 minerals at a time. 100 minerals, while your opponent's just losing these Locusts that really cost literally nothing.
So, a couple of Roaches and Mutalisks attempting to find their way into the back, sneaking in from that 5th base that was made early. The Mutalisks going straight through, heading into the main. There's one missile turret there, not actually attacking or focusing, so they're taking a lot of damage. Not ideal for Firecake, but with a quick repair, Strelok will be able to deter any further aggression. Hellions, though, coming down to this fringe expansion and will hopefully take that hatchery down.
These Mutalisks are shredding this natural. They've killed so many workers already. The mineral line's just almost non-existent at this point. We've got a couple of Hellbats moving down at that hidden 5th base, which isn't really going to do that much because there wasn't all that much saturation there to begin with. But there's barely any workers left at the natural for Strelok. 23 workers killed by Firecake at this point. No mining in the main as the SCVs are just still surrounding that turret. And Strelok, his economy is very, very stunted at this point. He hasn't even landed his 4th yet, and his bank is suffering because of it. He's still almost maxed, so his army is not a problem. But the problem is that he's got less than 800 combined resources in the bank. He's already dropping the mules there. There we go, finally landing. But that's going to be hard as well. The Locusts are at the front lines here, and there's only really 15 swarm hosts. There's not a ton of swarm hosts here, so Strelok has to be careful not to overcommit to the anti-swarm hosts. Because the fact is...
Having said that, though, Strelok isn't too far down in terms of the work count. He's still up at 59 SCVs, and he is maxed out. As you said, his upgrades are looking good. He's sitting at 2-2, up against 3-0 of Firecake for the moment, and he's still being aggressive with these Hellbats.
There are so many hatcheries on the field. We have the natural 4th base of Firecake being established. We have 2 hatcheries in the middle of the map. This base up here to the 12 o'clock position. This base to the 1 o'clock position. There's just bases everywhere.
And this is exactly how, in my opinion, Firecake should be playing this sort of game. If Strelok is going to turtle back and allow himself to get contained by these swarm hosts, then any good Zerg player should be taking every base possible. It's extra production, extra income, extra gas, everything the Firecake wants, so that if he loses these swarm hosts, he can just instantly remax on anything that he wants.
Well, we have a couple of ultras here, as you pointed out, when the Ultra Den was coming on down. And, well, actually, these Vipers going to get Blinding Cloud on absolutely everything. They will give their lives, by the looks of it, 2 of these Vikings. But he is going to be able to force Strelok back. The Ultralisks cleaving there with their Kaiser Blades, able to take down a lot of the health on these tanks at the front, but 3 of them do survive very, very low. Roaches being able to whittle away the workers there at that expansion as well, but not all too many were there to begin with. A couple of Queens going down as well here at the front. 29 workers killed for Firecake so far this game. Strelok still on the back foot.
Okay, Strelok has got a huge number of tanks, 18 of them down on the field. His Thor count is up at 4 as well, and that means that actually Firecake can't go for a mass muta switch or something along those lines to try and deal with it. So Strelok's army is intimidating, but Firecake's economy is magnificent. He's sitting there with 87 workers now, too many bases for me to quickly count up, and has complete control. Strelok, while he is on 4 bases, seems pretty stuck there for the moment.
Yeah, I mean, 4 bases, not going to be all too fantastic since he's not really mining out of his natural anything more than gas. So he's really only on like 2.5 bases, and he's not even mining minerals at his natural. So where are those SCVs? I don't understand where they are. Are they all in the main? No?
Well, for the moment we do have Strelok trying to break this position, sieges up those tanks, gains a bit more space. Firecake unburrows those swarm hosts, pulls back, trying to stay out of range of those tanks because the swarm host will melt to them. And Strelok, actually with a good little bit of leapfrogging, is gaining ground.
He is gaining ground, but he's got to be careful. There's a lot of Queens, a couple of Ultras here, and all the Vipers are still alive with a lot of energy.
Oh,
he's going to be flanked from the side with the Swarm Host. By the looks of it, the Ultras are going to take a little bit of damage. One goes down. Strelok trying to push forward.
Strelok losing quite a few tanks though at the back from that swarm host flank that you were saying. These hatcheries in the middle, just macro hatches, spreading creep and things like that, starting to get taken down. Couple of nice abducts. If the Thors are able to go down, that'd be good. The Blinding Clouds though, they are spectacularly good. Force Strelok to pull back. Firecake though has to be cautious not to retreat into the safety of that tank line.
Problem is there's no real answer to these Banshees. They now do share the upgrades, and that means that they do have 3-2 upgrades. It's going to be very, very difficult for Firecake to deal with this. He's adding on a couple of Hydras to try to deal with this. The tanks will shred those so quickly. His own upgrades are very far behind at this point. He's got the good range upgrades. Once again, a lot of these Locusts are going to come in from the side. The point defense drone out of energy now. 2, 3, 4 tanks going to be going down. They're down for free now. But the problem is that this hatchery is going to go down. And that means that, well, Strelok is just using this push to try to make his way across the map. The problem is he can't really reinforce. Everything's going to be cut off by the Locusts.
The trouble is as well, yes, that hatchery went down, and in a normal game, that wouldn't be a problem. But look at how many bases there are. In come the Vipers though, some good Blinding Clouds going down, catch a couple of the tanks in the middle, and with the complete surround, Firecake able to start knocking away at this army. It's not exactly what Strelok would be wanting here. Taking out one hatch when your opponent has every mining base pretty much on the map is not going to deal significant damage. Firecake with a good bank, maxed out still. Strelok supply though starting to tumble.
A really good move here by Strelok, picking off a couple of those swarm hosts with the Raven and the Banshees here. But the Banshees are going to be cleaned up finally by these Corruptors. A lot more Hydras ready to spawn. Another base goes down, but the army is dwindling. As you pointed out, there's not a maxed out supply for Strelok. He doesn't have enough of an economy to really get that going, and he doesn't have a bank either. There's very little left of this army. There's a Thor and a tank moving towards the Spine Crawler, and the Spine Crawler may be the hero of the day as it takes out the tank, and may even deal with the Thor as well. Not quite, but this is starting to look really bad for Strelok.
Strelok had the right idea, in my opinion. He started to gain back ground. I think where things didn't quite go to plan was when he continued that momentum a bit beyond where it could go. And that allowed Firecake to go in for those fantastic flanks, deal that damage to his army. And Strelok, lacking the economy, as you said, Penguin, just wasn't able to reinforce fast enough. He's now 50 supply down. And that is huge.
Yeah, and he's still not really sitting on a bank, obviously, because he's not maxed yet. And he's going to have to deal with Firecake just continuing to go up and up and up in the number of resources that he has. We have this base at the bottom right here for Strelok, but it doesn't matter because it's being creep blocked, and there's nothing that he can send over there to deal with that Overlord.
He can't get over them. That's the simple truth. There's a massive army in the middle. Ultralisk count is up at 8 currently. Yes, a nice little bit of play here with the Thor, but the drones are actually going to kill the Thor there, something you don't see every day. And now we've got Strelok about to lose that command center should the Hydras and Ultras decide to make their way across.
Yeah, actually only a couple of Hydras moving on over there. And the turrets are coming down, but that's not really going to help, as you mentioned. There are Ultralisks in here as well, and actually looks like the Overlord may be taken down here eventually by this turret. Yep, down it goes, but still can't land with his units there. And well, Strelok's nearing max again, but Firecake just continuing to get more and more and more in the bank. He's getting +3 air upgrades, +3 melee attack. He's already got +3 air, +3 carapace, one thing that's missing, but he could go for a very strong Mutas, which a really nice Hellion run by here towards the third, but the drones are so spread out that it's going to be really hard to actually use this effectively.
There's also a good amount of static defense that Firecake always incorporates into his late game compositions. That just aids all of this. Yes, the transformation servos are done and researched for Strelok, so we can make these Hellions Hellbats, which will fare better against it. But still, there's so few drones as every base, as you said, that it's not a huge problem to Firecake. Strelok's problem is still, though, his economy. He's broke. He's not maxed out. Firecake has money and is maxed out. Always a good spot.
Yeah, and I mean, looks like the Hellbats will deal with the spines here. 4 of the Hellbats do survive, but I mean, there's no answer to this big army in the middle of the map.
And what answer is there? Strelok, he made a big move. It was a big play. Could have worked out. He got a lot of ground. Unfortunately, after that initial maxed out move, with so many tanks failed and lost its momentum, Firecake just reaffirmed his position in that center of the map and just said, well, Strelok, you're not taking any more bases. I've got the entire map. I have all of the resources.
Yeah.
I can do this all day. Can you?
Look at this. Strelok finally decides, okay, I'm not going to take this base at the bottom right. I'm going to try to take this base. Nope, creep blocked. There's only one base on the map that is not creep blocked. Actually, there's 2. And, well, they have overlords by them, or creep by them. And they can just be creeped as soon as he notices that his opponent's moving over there. And Firecake, the problem that Firecake has now is that he doesn't actually have minerals. He's got a ton of gas, but no real minerals to spend them on. So he's really got to start getting a couple more drones on those mineral patches, because that could be a problem. If either of the resources ends up being a limiting factor, then that is a problem, because the rest of your bank is irrelevant if you can't spend it.
Unfortunately for Strelok, though, while he is maxed out, he's pretty much mined out of his third, only 2-3 mineral patches left there, and his 4th base is starting to feel the brunt of that mule hammer. But Firecake, as you said, his mineral count a bit low, he's got tons of gas, needs to just switch some of these Vespian guys over. His drone count only at 50, and that could be one of the reasons we're seeing those difficulties occur.
Another thing to consider is that there's only actually 10 swarm hosts on the map, which means that A, it's not an overcommittal to swarm hosts, and B, they're never going to do anything. So it kind of speaks for both players a little bit. Firecake swarm hosts are never going to do any damage because there's just not enough locusts. But at the same time, it's not like he really has to worry because, like, he's not relying on them to do tons of damage. Actually, they will do damage with those abducts. Nicely done. 3 tanks will go down. And Blinding Cloud's coming in on some of the army as the rest of the army of Firecake does move forward here. The Vikings haven't actually dealt with the Vipers quickly enough, but it looks like the just sheer force of this army is going to be enough to ward this off. And all of a sudden, like I mentioned earlier, Firecake doesn't have any minerals to spend.
Hellions as well running about the map, trying to find any base that isn't too well guarded to start picking off those drones, successfully having been done all game. We've even got a couple of mules, long distance mining, which is not the most common strategy for getting a good amount of income. But Firecake, without those minerals, sacrificed a lot of his army, is now sitting there being like, well, I've got gas, I guess I'll make some infestors?
Infestors with Neural Parasite could be kind of cool, but problem is they can't really get in range because there's tanks, and that's going to be a really big problem for him. He is getting a pretty good amount of money right now. He does have 1,100 mineral income per minute, but it's going to take a while to actually remax with that because he just doesn't actually have any in the bank at the moment. So that's going to be a bit of a problem for him. Strelok, however, doesn't necessarily know that Firecake is sitting at a non-maxed army. He has no way of knowing that beyond what his eyes see him, and the map is so big, there's bases all over the place. There could be units in another part of the map that he doesn't know about, so he doesn't want to get too overeager because, as you said last time, his army, he got too overeager when he pushed the first time and his army just died. Eventually. It did good damage, but it died.
Strelok is actually up in supply at the moment, but some nice abducts come down straight into those locusts. 2 Thors are going to die. Strelok really has no money. He's on the bare bones and he can't find any more bases to take. His third mined out completely, so his income really, really low.
Fungal's coming out too.
Yeah.
I mean, Chain Fungals on 3 Vikings to kill them off isn't the greatest use of energy, but considering that there's no money left, it's not a bad use of it at all. And Firecake retakes the supply lead and is now maxed. He finally spends the money that he's been so diligently mining from the bottom right to make those 4 new Ultralisks. And the Swarm Hosts consistently being microed back, only losing the first one just now there of those initial 10 that have been around for quite a while. And, well, Strelok, he's trying to push on forward, and he's being slower this time so he doesn't get hit by any super strong Locust flanks, but slowly but surely, his Hellbat meat shield is dying. Another couple just went down there. And there's not an overwhelming number of Ravens for point defense drone. I think there's only enough energy for 1 more point defense drone.
The Viper count is up at 4 too, so a decent number of abducts are available. Blinding Clouds could be coming down on those siege tanks. Strelok playing it more cautiously, this time maybe too cautiously. Firecake's bank really starting to grow, and as we can see, Strelok's mineral income is 60, 40, 20. It's going down to basically nothing.
Yeah, we've got +2 Carapace for air coming in now, and Firecake finally has the mining he wants. He's up to another 1,700 minerals. He's got really good mineral income coming in at 1,400 now, sitting on those 59 workers. And Strelok, he's still sitting on 53 SCVs with no bases, which means that that's pretty much dead supply. This army supply for him, he's only sitting on 111 army supply to the 141 of his opponent. And, well, Firecake is just slowly but surely whittling it down 1 unit at a time with some really good abducts.
This is really nice for Strelok. He has managed to sneak a base in, and he's got 34 SCVs over there, so not the most efficient use of mining, but with mules, that actually boosts up his mineral income pretty hugely. Firecake, with a bigger bang still, isn't in a bad spot, but oh no, Ultralisks. Ultralisks wanting some hugs.
Oh man, that hurts to watch. And well, he's going to start dropping the creep there as well, so there's no re-landing of that, and now Strelok's moving over there to deal with that, and oh no, that's a Thor that's being left behind, and well, that's another free kill right there. Strelok down to 154 supply. The Ultras will be picked off for pretty cheap, which is pretty nice, but I mean, 3.5k bank here for Firecake now. He's just building up more and more and more money, and he's not losing units. Looking at the resources lost, he's lost 3,000 less, and he's had more income and more bases for the entirety of the game.
Of course, Firecake in a position currently where he can afford to burn money a bit. Stopping this mining base and sacrificing 3 Ultralisks for it, good trade. Strelok saving that base for a Thor, not a great trade for him, because he doesn't have the stuff for it. And now Firecake going on the aggressive, sending just a small hit squad of Ultras and Hydras, starts taking away at all the production. This is allowing Strelok to take out some expansions, but as you mentioned, Penguin, Firecake has a great bank.
Yeah, it looks like Strelok's going to ward this off with the tanks on the high ground. There are 3 tanks there, now 4, so Firecake doesn't want to go into there, but he is going to be able to deal with this planetary most likely. Strelok's trying desperately to save the planetary. I don't really know why. There's no minerals there. There's a little bit of gas, which I guess is helpful, but only a total of 700 combined, and down goes the planetary fortress.
Oh,
down go the
beautiful
SCVs.
fungals here.
Oh,
Chain
damn,
fungling everything.
that's not good.
This is a big problem now for Strelok. If these can keep coming in, it would be very problematic. Is able to get free for the moment, but so much of this army now down on red health, especially considerable numbers of those Vikings. Great little play by Firecake.
Well, Firecake continually up by still 50 supply in these infestors. If he can continue landing fungals like that, that's going to be miraculous. There's no gas in the bank for Strelok. He can't afford to repair this. Really good blinding clouds going down. Neural Parasite on the Thors, and he is going to be able to break Strelok's army with his own units here. Firecake with some pretty cool play. Down comes the GG. 1-0 for our French Zerg player, taking game 1 in 40 minutes and 41 seconds.
That was a pretty quick
Not
game.
a disappointing start to the series, Maddles.
Nice quick game there from Firecake then. Of course, Firecake played that really nicely, and I also want to give some credit to Strelok. It didn't work out for him, but I think that initial push, if he wasn't quite as eager, it may have worked out differently. But because he overextended himself, the flanks came in, a decent amount of damage was done, and there was just no way for Strelok to really come back from that once the contain was re-established. Game number 2 is going to be coming up shortly. This is a best of 5, remember, so we could be getting 4 more of those, believe it or not. And the map, well, Penguin, do we know what the map is yet?
We should. It should be in here somewhere.
Outram Stronghold.
Oh God.
That is a big map.
And you guys thought Frost took a lot of time. Those of you who missed Mana versus Firecake, that game, like the game we just, like almost like the length of a standard cheese game for Firecake.
That's a depressing but interesting fact. Anyway, going into this next game, Strelok probably isn't going to mix things up too much. He is such a mech-orientated player, and I think he showed a glimmer of promise to be able to break Firecake's strategy.
Yeah, I mean, the initial push did a lot of damage. The Hellion Harass for a while was actually doing really, really well, and I think if he'd been able to keep that up, he would have actually been in a good spot, because the problem for Firecake for a while was that he didn't have any minerals, and the Hellion run-bys were what was keeping his minerals so low. The problem is that Strelok also ran out of money, and didn't have enough money to continue producing Hellions for those run-bys. So eventually, Firecake was able to finally get a good mineral income again, and that's when it really spiraled back out of control.
It's worth noting as well, Firecake didn't actually help himself that much. He took all those extra expansions for the gas, but when he got low on minerals, he didn't switch those drones out of gas into the minerals or make any more. So he did hurt himself a bit there, something that he can look to improve. We are just waiting in the moment for the players. Firecake is apparently ready. Strelok, we're just waiting for the moment. We're going to go to a short break while they get some issues fixed, but we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Oh, actually, never mind. We're all good.
Cool. Are you ready?
Sorry about that.
Are you mentally ready?
I am mentally ready. I'm comfortable. I've got enough drink. I've got enough food. Have you, Penguin? Have you at home, obviously?
Well, I'm doing okay so far. I've still got about half of this bottle of iced tea, and I got a full bottle of iced tea next to me as well, so that's all I need to live on. I could live off iced tea.
For how long? This seems like something which you could do as a streamed event.
I could probably live... Well, this is going to be a streamed event, because my answer to how long is I could probably survive through this series on nothing but iced tea.
And that could be a long time, so to be fair, it's actually quite impressive. But we are now loading into the game. Outer Rim Stronghold going to be coming down. Strelok versus Firecake. Currently 1-0 up to the Zerg player. This is our second series of the night. Happy has already advanced forward up into Premier. We've got 2 more series following on from this, all best of 5. Love to know your thoughts. Drop us some tweets. I'm at Maddles91, at MYI Penguin for my co-caster. Make sure you bounce up hashtag WCS in there. And well, we are in game, so let's go straight to the action. So, Penguin, would you do the honors?
Absolutely. In the bottom right spawn location of the largest battlefield known to man, Altrazim Stronghold, we have the Blue Terran player representing Alien Invasion, Strelok. The Mechanical Magician. His
That's
expertise
such a
in
cool
mech.
name. That should stick.
Opponent, spawning in the bottom left spawn location, sending his Overlord in the correct scouting direction, which means that it should arrive at his opponent's base before the 10-minute mark. We have our Red Zerg player representing France and Vega Squadron. It is Firecake.
Now, for those
I wonder
of you...
how he came up with that name.
Firecake. I personally hope it was a baking accident. A baking disaster, actually. While he thought, oh, what's this game? StarCraft. And he put a cake into the oven and he rolled Zerg. He made some swarm hosts. And 3 hours later, he was like, oh, gosh, my cake. It was only meant to be in there for 40 minutes. I read online and they said the average game length was 20. I thought I'd be fine. That's how I really hope it went down.
Are you implying that his first ever game of StarCraft, he went Turtle Swarm Host?
Yes.
And that is how he was born?
Yes.
Okay. Firecake opting for an in-base expansion here first. But we do see actually Snoot, who also loves Swarm Hosts. He'll often go for the outside expansion first on this map, and it helps especially when you're going for 3 hatch before pool or something like that, just because you can grab the queen out there earlier, and it's not all too hard to defend the ramp anyway, because it's just a super tiny ramp. And we have a Rax opening from Strelok. Is he going to go Reaper? Nope, that was actually gas first. So he is looking to go super, super fast factory, already scouting out with an SCV. This could be a pretty fast Hellion play out of him. Just going for some really, really fast reactor Hellions, faster than in the last game, and just trying to do some damage there. Maybe add in a Banshee.
Well, it's a good strategy to make. We've theorized quite a few times that how do you beat this Firecake mass swarm host play? And quite often our basic answer is don't let him make them. And the way you do that is by killing him early on. Strelok, though, isn't a massive fan of doing that. We do see an early scout coming down here from Firecake. He may actually misread this. He sees a second supply depot coming down at the wall, but hasn't seen anything else. May suspect a command center first opening.
He hasn't seen anything, as you pointed out, and he's not going super greedy with a 3 hatch himself, so it's not going to be the end of the world, I feel, but he can just play pretty standardly from here, and he's gonna be fine. It's not like he has to do anything super crazy. And if Strelok does go for just a really, really fast Hellion play for the front, I don't like that. What I would like is if he went for like a Hellion drop play or something like that, because, you know, if he just tries to break down the front, you can defend your natural against that by just walling off the ramp with 2 queens. It's so easy to do. There's no real chance of running on by there. And, well, with 2 queens about to pop out, I assume we'll see Firecake add on at least 1 extra. He's getting his gas now, so not super duper early by any means.
Okay, one thing we haven't touched on as of yet, Penguin, are the spawn positions and how they may influence things. If this was any other Terran, I'd be suspecting Firecake to be very cautious of drops into his natural base due to the very quick rush distance to the main. For the moment though, with only Hellions coming out, I doubt we'll be seeing that early on from Strelok, but it's certainly an option that could be coming in later that you need to be aware of.
Yeah, that's definitely true, and I don't actually feel like there's going to be all too much difference in spawn locations on Alter Zim as opposed to other maps, because, I mean, even though you don't spawn cross, so you're not super far away, you're still super far away because it's frickin' Alter Zim Stronghold, and it took him, it takes, just so you guys get an idea of how big this map is, Firecake sent his Overlord in the correct direction first, and it got to the base probably around 4 minutes. Yeah.
It does take a while. It's a big map. It's a pretty map though. I like lots
Hidden
of
base!
hidden base. Oh my god. This is brilliant from Strelok. I clicked around frantically trying to find it, but this... Okay. This is smart. For all the things we've just been talking about, Outer Rim being so large, the chance that Firecake will send something up here in the next 20 minutes is highly unlikely.
On the other hand, I feel like the chances of sending something up there isn't too unlikely if he himself wants to go for a hidden base, because personally I feel like going for like hidden bases against mech on this map is just so good, because there's really not all that much your opponent can do against it, because mech is very slow and immobile in general. Like, you can send the Hellions over, but if you have a couple of roaches there, or just spines, it's not going to be all too difficult.
Well,
I like this. We actually have a couple of Widow Mines blocking the potential thirds here for Strelok.
yeah, it's a really nice play. It just adds a little small delay into any base that comes down. This Overlord, unfortunately, going to take a hit. Won't kill it, though. So, just reveals that its existence is there. Meanwhile, triple armory coming down from Strelok.
Whoa. What? Is that an accident? Are there 3 upgrades you can get? Since the shared upgrades are... No, that's definitely a mistake. They're not coming down at the same time.
Yeah, the third one just being added on a bit later too at the same time.
It's a mind game! He's hoping that he scouts the single armory and thinks that it's only single upgrades. And then when he sees that they're 1-1 on the units, his head will explode.
I feel Firecake will have appropriate time to consider how that occurs.
Is he going to cancel? I hope he cancels.
I don't think...
Strelok, what are you doing?
I can't see his hotkeys because I've got the observer interface up, but has he actually got both of these hotkeys?
He has them all hotkeyed on the same...
Why does
hotkey.
he have 3?
What? I'm so confused!
It's like he knows, but is messing with us. Anyway, enough about that. Roach's car coming out. Still no third base as of yet from Firecake, meaning that his economy isn't as good as he'd like, and Strelok is already up on 3 command centers because of this hidden base, which is muling like a boss. One thing that could reveal that... Okay, 1 armory scene. Sorry to interrupt myself, but 2 armory scene. He doesn't know about the hidden third. Okay, Firecake now knows. 3 armories.
Right,
He's scratching his head.
I want to point out one thing about this hidden base, which is especially good for Terran. There's a downside to mules, and the downside to mules is that you mine out your bases really fast. But with this base, Strelok can now dedicate all of his mules to this hidden base, every single one of them, and his main and natural base will mine out so much slower that that's actually a really big tell. Not a big tell, it's a big advantage. But you know what might be a tell about that hidden base? Is if Firecake is super savvy and really good and really smart and notices that Strelok has no mules in the main or natural with that Overseer. That would be cool.
And it is a pretty big giveaway. If you're at this stage of the game, you'd expect to see mules at least one of these 2. He knows he's got a Ling down here. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a little check around. It's something I was going to bring up. Then no mules does suggest there's another base down somewhere. But for the moment, Strelok being very active on the map with these Hellions. 4th base and 3rd getting built simultaneously by Firecake. Since the 3rd was a bit late, he needs to double expand.
Yeah, but you know, Strelok is actually setting himself up into a magnificent position. His 1-1 upgrades are nearing completion already, whereas +1 is only going to be finishing up for Firecake. He's going range, but he's going to definitely go into Swarm Host. He's got no roach speed. He's had his lair finished a long time. I think we're going to see the exact same thing out of Firecake, just a few mutas, maybe 8 to 12, and then from there he's going to go into Swarm Host. So
Oh,
probably
no.
going to be seeing the Infestation Pit.
Oh no, Penguin. Firecake is sending an Overlord to every expansion, apart from the one that Strelok has built the Ninja
Oh
base.
no.
This one
Really?
Overlord has stopped. Yeah, look at them all. Look at them all boldly going forth.
I'm
to
so sad.
find it.
This makes me so sad for him.
This is painful.
Well,
anyway,
we have a couple of Hellions going down to a couple of Roaches here. Roaches are scouting on out, trying to see what they can see. And, well, 3 of the Hellions do go down. But you're right, there is no reason for Firecake. Well, there's no scouting for Firecake on that base. Looks like we will have his Mutalisks intercepting this medevac here, which is a nice little catch. 2 of the Mutas don't really care, though, just opting to chill with the Overseer. And this Hellbat drop should be shut down pretty quickly here. Blue Flame is now done, 2-2 well underway, and Strelok is
Ooh, nice
actually
little
looking to... Actually, yeah, he's going to unload these. And, well, the drones do get away for the most part. A couple of them will go down by the looks of it, and with the Mutas, he'll be able to clean this up pretty quickly. Total of 4 workers killed overall, and not too disastrous at all. Actually, that's better for Firecake. But, you know, Strelok's 2-2 is so well underway already. He's actually very low in supply, because it looks like he's actually added on his additional production structures pretty late. He's only sitting on 3 factories, the 4th one finishing up now. And, well, the Swarm Host switch is underway. Firecake with a gigantic supply lead, but that's mostly because he made a bunch of roaches early on, and he's actually all the way up to, is that 87? That's 87 drones, jeez, so he actually does have a pretty good economy.
it's also
the
worth
hidden base-
noting, Penguin, that the actual resources lost are insanely low for this stage of the game.
Yeah,
Firecake only has lost less than 500 resources so far.
I'm not actually too surprised.
The
given
Mutalisks,
players.
they're about to be a hero. They're about to find the hidden base. Only 1 missile turret there. In they go. Please don't stop them, Firecake. Go. Go, Mutalisks.
All right, here we go. He sees it. Missile turret is going to be repaired, so this isn't going to be a big, huge deal as far as like damage dealing goes. Actually, losing 2 Mutalisks is very, very sloppy here already. Gonna lose even a 3rd one almost, not quite. And not the greatest control by Firecake there, but he knows it's there now, and immediately the roaches are... Actually, no, they were sent... Yeah, they are. So the roaches are going to be sent on over now, and that should be cleaned up relatively soon. He's trying to get as much done from... Trying to mine as much of that as he possibly can before it's inevitably going to be forced to lift.
Well, some mules getting cooled down there, but already we've got a 4th command center heading towards what should be the 3rd base of Strelok, so that's going to be taken nice and safely. Enduring Locust, though, is about to complete. The Hive nearly finished too, and with all of these piecing together, we're likely to see Firecake get into that same later game composition that we saw in game number 1. But Strelok, with all of Firecake's army, really trying to take out that hidden base, he's pushing forward.
That's actually really, really smart here, and looks like he's actually going to turn around. He doesn't want to push into the Locusts, and that makes sense, because he just doesn't have the tank power here to push forward here. And just going to opt to defend his 3rd base. But, you know, losing this CC is a little sad, but it's not too bad, because he's already mined a ton of minerals from this base. Almost 500 out of each mineral patch, except for the one on the far left and the far right, so those 2 are just not mined at all for some reason. And he's already mined a good amount of gas out of there as well. A total of over 1,000 gas has been mined from that expansion. So that base is worthwhile. It was worthwhile to make it happen. And the big problem for Strelok now, though, is that he lost those SCVs, and he's down only 53 SCVs against the 85 of Firecake. So his supply is down, and his army production started a lot later, so he's got some super early upgrades coming in, but it's not going to help too much if he just doesn't have enough units.
Now, I love the fact that Firecake is responding to the ninja base with a ninja base, just on the other corner of the map. So he's realized, okay, that hidden base went quite well for Strelok. I'm going to give one of those a try. Meanwhile, he's starting that siege again, the Ultralisk Cavern just beginning. And of course, all of the tech now available, I believe, to Firecake. I think he has every production path available.
Not a Greater Spire yet,
or a Baneling Nest.
Or a Baneling Nest.
Not that there'd be any use at all, but yeah. You never know. Anyway.
Actually, you say it's not any use, but did you see True versus Fantasy in Pro League? He crushed the mech army with mass Banelings and a few mutas to Magic Box. And won.
And you laughed at me when you saw me play that game about 6 months ago, where I made nothing but Banelings because my MMR had
No,
decayed
but True
so
is
much.
good. You're terrible.
Oh, that hurts. Anyway,
I'm sorry.
for the moment, in come the Hellions. We got, obviously, good spine placement, just as always we expect from Firecake, keeping a good defense of any bases that he does have. So I doubt much is going to get done. 1 Hellion down, the 2nd one about to die. The Swarm Hosts are also starting to make their way forward, Penguin. And this is where that chokehold starts coming on more and more. And Strelok, may have to go, like game number 1, to try and move out and break it, because he can't sit here and just take damage after damage.
No, he can't, and he's getting up to that tank number now with +3 weapons as well. The Swarm hosts aren't going to do anything here anymore. They're not really going to do all that much. However, with the Vipers, they could. 14 Swarm hosts on the map is not an overwhelming number. And the Vipers, though, that is what makes them really, really deadly. You abduct a couple of the expensive units, kill them off for free. Strelok, though, is now almost maxed, and he's nearing that point where he can try to push out. It looks like he is going to push out here with that +3 armor almost done. Gotta be careful not to take damage from these Locusts, though. The Locusts are pretty fast on creep, but off creep, they shouldn't be able to chase down any of these units. They'll do a bit of damage to the tanks by the looks of it, but not too much. One actually will go down, but Strelok here, he's not in a terrible spot because of his magnificent upgrades, but he's going to start to run out of money if he doesn't grab a 4th base. He just doesn't have the income to compare with Firecakes at the moment.
Now, a question...
Look at the bank for Firecake.
A question for you quickly, Penguin. In game number 1, when Strelok moved across the map, were Vipers already out for Firecake?
They were.
Okay.
The problem is Firecake used the Blinding Clouds, and then Strelok was already on siege. So he used the Blinding Clouds and then lost all the Vipers to the Vikings, and that's when they just all kind of died. A good abduct on that Thor. Jesus, it takes forever to kill a Thor with upgrades.
We've got a lot of Hellbats coming into this base at the 8 o'clock position of Firecake, and many droids are getting taken down. This is going to be a good little run by, although all of those Hellbats will die in the process.
Worth it. Absolutely worth it. We have the worker count going from 85 down to 63, so very well done by Strelok there. And as we said last game, that's one of the things that kept him in the game for so long, just being able to do those constant Hellion run-bys, Hellbat run-bys, and he needs to continue doing that. The problem is he doesn't know about the hidden bases yet, which is a little surprising. You'd expect him to be looking for them after that hidden base on Frost.
The Vipers, of course, still being a good threat. There's 3 of them down on the field, so it's the Blinding Clouds that Strelok has to be really cautious about. He's heavily reliant on the tanks to deal with the Locust waves, but he's keeping his tank so clumped up. A couple of nice Blinding Clouds down here could be disastrous. Firecake, though, is starting to take some damage from this mech force. The Vipers pushing forward, able to take down all of the Vipers very early. And now we see Strelok gaining positions.
Now, this is exactly what happened last game at this point. Strelok pushed out, was able to do some damage, but he pulls back to try to deal with these mutas, and that's maybe better for him because last game he overextended and it ended up going terribly for him. But I would love to see him add in a couple more Ravens. We're only sitting at 4 at the moment, 2 more on the way. Good. 6 to 9 is what I would say is a pretty decent number of Ravens, especially with that number of Vikings. And then slowly going into some more air as well. Just a couple of battle cruisers perhaps. And with Yamatos, those were really, really good to help pick off lone Swarm hosts, lone Queens, lone Ultras, anything that just kind of strays a little bit too far forward. And good point defense drones here are going to be able to defend the mech army for now, but all of a sudden, he's got to continue running because those Locusts, they still have a lot of life on them.
Now, one thing I want to point out, Penguin, that is quite incredible. Firecake has lost more resources than Strelok this game, despite playing a Swarm host composition. And that's credit to Strelok on how well he is defending this army, not overcommitting, and just taking wins where he can.
Well, the creep spread is also looking very, very good for Firecake as well. It's something we haven't really touched on. Last game, Strelok was able to clean it up pretty significantly, and he is starting to do that now, but Firecake has just had such good control of the entire map that it's been very, very difficult for Strelok to get anything done. Oh, a couple of his units getting caught out of position here. 3 Hellbats at a tank going down for free, and now the engagement. Good Blinding Clouds coming on down. Good as well, and a bit of lag here, unfortunately, but it will get resolved. Looks like Strelok's abducted units do get away there.
Meanwhile, a couple of roaches tried to deal some damage to the mineral line around here, but the Planetary Fortress telling them no. Strelok's supply still up nice and high, as is Firecake's, completely maxed out. Firecake's worker count, though, is back up at 67, so not as high as it was pre that big Hellbat play, but Strelok, he's got a decent economy too. He's building up a nice bank, just a bit low on gas. This additional base, this 5th base, will help to rectify that situation, though.
Yeah, so he does have that 5th base coming on up. He's got a couple of extra command centers as well that he can look to try to find bases for. Not likely to happen, but the fact that he has a 5th base ready to go, if he can defend that, that'll be already a better position than he had in the last game. And we do have him trying to move around the Swarm hosts here with the main army. He's going to try to find a good position here to try to just maybe bypass this and go straight for the bases. And it looks like he's going to do that.
A lot of Hydralisks poking in will take out an Orbital Command, but a retreat now from Firecake, realizing that his swarm host hold.
Oh, aggressive Vikings gonna pick off all of the Vipers. And that is actually really big as the Vikings escape from the Corruptors now. Almost no casualties. Raven's gonna throw down auto turrets to take down that new base that's being established. And this base down here also gonna die pretty quickly. The problem, though, is that, oh, there we go. He is seeding up the tank. So he does now have a good defensive position here on his opponent's side of the map. Can he get done what he needs to? Unsieging a lot of the tanks already. A little early, perhaps. Good abducts coming into the army, though, and a couple of the tanks will be taken out right now.
Locusts moving up above the majority of this army could go in for the flank. That would be a problem for Strelok. If all of the Locusts are together, the splash damage from the tanks will be able to take them out relatively efficiently. But Firecake going for his own counter push. A couple of Hydralisks going to chase down a few Thors and Ravens, going to deal very effectively with them. This is not really the sort of thing that Strelok wants to be losing. My other concern for Strelok is that his army is somewhat trapped at the moment. He unsieges as a wave of Locusts are going to be pushing in. A few tanks certain to fall now. PDD's doing a nice bit of work defending that, but Strelok making his way up into the main base of his Zerg opponent.
He needs to make this push work. This is a very expensive army, and he doesn't have enough gas to replenish it. Not by a long shot here. Another good abduct coming down. Firecake playing very, very patiently. He knows he doesn't need the bases as far as mining goes. The big problem right now is the tech. He needs to start reestablishing his tech that could be taken out here. He needs to start building that at the top right bases. Meanwhile, we have another little attack going down here at the 5th base of Strelok. Not going to do any damage. The PF will take out those Hydras pretty quickly. And, well, Firecake's having a lot of trouble dealing with this.
No, I don't mean to overexcite you here, Penguin, but there are battle cruisers coming down. The fusion core is dancing, and I think that's a smart choice.
Yep, absolutely. I'm not sure if weapon refit is already researched. He is getting Mammoth Reactor at the moment. Okay, it's queued up to come behind that, so he wants to be able to have that additional energy on his battle cruisers as they spawn. A lot of these hatcheries have already been taken out, which means that the income for Firecake is going to be stifled. However, he does have a really good amount of bank right now, so he doesn't need too much money, and as long as he continues mining up from the top right, and it looks like a bunch of drones have escaped. No, those are actually Hydras. So there's actually not that many drones on the map right now. There's only 36, which could be a problem.
And of course, Firecake's supply is now falling behind that of Strelok's. It's 197 to 172. 4 battle cruisers coming at a time. Weapon refit is now being researched. Strelok is still maxed out. This is...
Oh, really good fungal coming down in the middle of the map here, as the Locust will start to shred away at those units, but the chain fungal doesn't quite happen. There we go, getting another one in. Neural Parasite's actually done. He could neural on these and try to deal some damage, but it doesn't look like he wants to do that. Firecake having trouble remaxing initially. He's got a lot of Overlords that have gone down. He's not making any right now, so he can't go above 182 supply at the moment.
So, Strelok, he's got a decent number of expansions this game. His economy is looking solid. It's better than that of Firecake's. He's up in supply, he's taking out key tech, and he's getting battle cruisers down. This is a much better situation for Strelok. I'm not quite going to say that he's managed to break Firecake as of yet, because Firecake's bank is still significant. But he's doing...
But Firecake has a problem, Maddles. I mentioned that he needs to reestablish his tech, and he didn't do all that much of it. He missed his Ultralisk Cavern. He got some of the very important tech down. He does have the Hydra Den. He does have the Rotor and the Spire and the Infestation Pit. But the Ultras were the big tanky part of his army last time, and he has lost his Ultra Cavern and his Hive. Good abducts, though, coming on down. It will allow him to pick up a couple more of these tanks, and it looks like this army of Strelok's is finally going to die, but not after more than paying for itself.
It's more than paid for itself. It's been rebuilt back at home. The battle cruiser count is now sitting up at 6. I'd say Strelok is in a strong spot.
Not worried. He's got to be careful, though, because Strelok can't overdo the battle cruisers. They don't have all that much DPS. He's going up to 10, which I already think is a little bit too much, especially with Neural Parasite on the field here.
There are 17 Corruptors as well.
That's true, and Corruptors will shred this very, very quickly. On the other hand, it's going to be kind of hard to shred 11 battle cruisers very quickly with 17 Corruptors, so it's going to come down to the control. The Vikings do pretty well. The Ravens could well turn the tide of the battle as well with PDD and potentially Seeker missiles.
Hive is about to be re-established by Firecake as he's rebuilt his main in the top right, so just moved across the map. One Planetary Fortress taking a significant amount of damage now. SCV's trying to repair it up and not going to be successful. It gets sniped off. That's one of a critical mining bases for Strelok. He also lost the one up to the 12 o'clock position. Unfortunately, 3 tanks managing to find one of Firecake's fringe bases. Both players really doing the runaround, just trying to get a decent amount of income.
Yeah, the standard 3-tank hit squad coming out of Strelok here. Down goes that base. Going to be able to pick up a couple of these drones as well, which is not great for Firecake, who's now down to 27 drones total. And his bank is beginning to dwindle. 3K, 2K is nice, but it's not enough to remake an entire army if he loses it. And he's not really got the greatest army composition to deal with 8 Ravens and 11 battle cruisers at the moment, Maddles.
Strelok's army moving forward. So many battle cruisers here, as you said. Currently sitting up at 11. 17 Corruptors going to be trying to stand in their way with only 7 Vikings for support. But with the Emoto cannon, so much damage can be done very quickly. Firecake aware of what is coming his way. Just look at that DPS output. As you mentioned in game number 1, Air now shares upgrades with Ground Mech. So these are 3 battle cruisers. That is a massive amount of damage.
I take back what I said earlier about BCs not having critical DPS, because with that +3, they apparently do. Though that hatchery just evaporated, and, well, Firecake's going to try to get as good an engagement as possible, but in come a couple of Seeker missiles. Looks like they will fizzle by the looks of it, but the Swarm hosts can move. If they unburrow, they'll die. If they sit there, they'll die. Some good abducts coming down on some of the Vikings and the Ravens here, and a good concave for Firecake, but I just don't think he has the right army composition to deal with the army of Strelok, Maddles.
10 more Corruptors are being produced, but Strelok is still moving forward. The battle cruiser count up at 13. None have died, just more taking their place. The Corruptors are going for it. A couple of Yamoto cannons on their way through. Blinding Clouds being utilized. For the moment, though, it's the battle cruisers up against these Corruptors. Only a handful of Corruptors remaining. 10, 11 battle cruisers, though, and they are winning this fight. They've got the superior upgrades. Firecake down to just 87 supply to 143 of Strelok, and I think Strelok is going to be able to take this game.
It definitely looks like that, Maddles. GG is called by Firecake, and Strelok ties up the series with...
And dish out those introductions.
Absolutely. So, these guys, they've got at least 2 more games in them, but we'll see if they can manage to make it through the series. In the bottom spawn location, playing for Vega Squadron, taking a pretty cool first game, losing the second game, not really having the right composition to deal with the battle cruiser fleet of his opponent. We have our red Zerg player, Vega Squadron's Firecake. Up in the top left spawn location, going for a pretty greedy CC first on the map of Heavy Rain. We have our blue Terran player playing for Alien Invasion. Can he take the momentum forward and grab a second win? It is Strelok.
Both players opening greedy so far this game, Penguin. Hatch first and CC first from each of them. Looking to make this a bit more of a longer game. No one going to be trying to cheese it out, much to our enjoyment. Now, these games have been quite long, but as we kind of touched on, as we were outroing from the previous game, they've been very active. Neither of them being that passive with what are traditionally more passive playstyles.
Well, this map scares me, Maddles. Would you like to know why?
I really want to say no, but go on.
Well, there's a lot of pathways into your opponent's bases. They're all very, very thin, very choky. Means that swarm hosts and tanks are very good on this map.
Do you reckon swarm hosts are better on Heavy Rain than they were on, oh, Brain Freeze, save me.
Frost or Altrazim?
No, I'm talking last season. Last season's map pool.
Oh, Akalon.
Akalon, yes.
No. They're not better on any map than Akalon, except maybe Daybreak. Probably Daybreak.
Why did you remind me of Daybreak? That map still has a place in my heart.
Speaking of Daybreak and Firecake and Mech vs. Zerg, just a little bit of a plug here. If you're a Firecake fan or a Mech fan, there is going to be a show match that is going to be a best of 7 run by Base Trade TV between Firecake and Avilo coming up in February, where the map pool includes such classics such as Akalon Wastes, Daybreak, I believe Entombed Valley, and some other maps that will make some very, very long games. So definitely check that out if you're into this kind of thing.
You realize after that nobody in this stream is going to watch it.
Why? This is a pretty good series.
To be fair,
They're both actually playing very...
It is. Even though these games are long, they're not dull long. And that's what's really nice to see. There's so much action. And one thing I really wanted to touch upon that Strelok utilized in the previous game, admittedly the map was huge, so allowed it, But he just went around the swarm hosts. He was like, yeah, you've got some swarm hosts in the middle of the map, I'll just come around the top and take out your bases. It was a smart play, because swarm hosts are only dangerous if you engage them, which is kind of an obvious point, but quite often players will just sit there and being hammered by locusts and just take it.
Well, I think I was talking to Kane about this yesterday, because if anybody's been watching his games recently, IAM qualifier, MLG, he's just been on a bit of a swarm host trip against Protoss, and he really likes it against Mech as well. But he was pointing out that he thinks that anybody who goes swarm host on Akalon is just really, really stupid. So that might have been the case. Firecake did drop that map, and it's just so large, it's hard to make swarm host effective. But for a while, he looked like he was doing a pretty good job. So I don't know, but he is the swarm host king, and
Ooh.
well, we are on a swarm host positive map. So
This is a very interesting build. Sorry to interrupt you there, Penguin. But Strelok,
Ooh.
he's getting +1 attack, and he's also getting down Blue Flame with these Hellions, getting triple Hellion production every second, every cycle. This is going to be a very powerful push with Blue Flame so early and +1.
yeah, I mean, this is actually really, really cool, because obviously this helps you go into a mech play later on very, very easily, because you've already got the 2 factories up, which is great. But this can just straight up kill your opponent if they're not ready. On the other hand, we do have a Roach Warren already on the way up for Firecake, and he has been making some early roaches. So if he's in position, he should be able to shut this down relatively easily. However, just 1 second, 1 split second of not paying attention, 1 split second of just being in the wrong place at the wrong time, and you just lose your mineral lines.
For the moment, we are just waiting for one of the observers, who has unfortunately dropped, so we've got to wait for that to go through. Then the game will recommence.
Goodbye, Graham.
That is one of the IEM, or one of the ESL admins, unfortunately. But yeah, we are just sitting here. Strelok gonna be trying to pick off this Overlord, who's gonna try and attempt to be a hero and get the scout. I don't believe he's gonna see that armory, although it could be very close. That'd be a bit of a giveaway. He's gonna definitely scout down the fact that there's a factory with a reactor on it, but that's nothing too surprising on its own.
No, not at all, and he doesn't get a critical scout out here, and he actually gets pretty badly supply blocked as well, as there's no Overlords in production at the moment. And that could be really bad timing for him here, because he doesn't have any roaches on the field just yet, and he's only producing 1 Overlord. This is actually really, really bad for Firecake, depending on when Strelok decides to move out with the massive armada of Hellions.
And of course, that armada is ever growing, 10 currently down. Love the way that Strelok isn't hiding all of them though. He's active on the map with 4 Hellions, which is normal. That's what Firecake is going to expect to see there. So already Strelok trying to dampen down any alarm bells that Firecake could have ringing in his head by showing him what he wants to see. What he's hiding though is the extra Hellions, but he's not hiding them that well. Great Overlord placement by Firecake, sees 2, and is that enough to give away the play? Well, 7 roaches on the way says yes.
7 roaches, will it be enough? 11 now on the way, and Firecake, if he controls this properly, should be fine. He's got a good amount of workers already, up to 56. This isn't an all-in from Strelok, but he really wants to do some kind of damage here. He's getting a 3rd base behind us, a 3rd factory, and a starport. It does slow down his tech a little bit. He's only getting single upgrades, and he's only now getting a starport. A couple of the Hellions down already. Here come the roaches, though, and this actually doesn't look like it's going to do all too much at all.
There is the option for Strelok just to try and split up these Hellions, go into different bases and get some damage done at each one, but already their numbers thin so far that he's got no choice but to back out. Not an all-in, as you said, but still a significant investment to make this work. Yes, it can be easily transitioned out of, but what we need to keep a close eye on is how Strelok tries to do that. The 3rd CC is going to help, it's going to give his economy a good footing, but Firecake, I'd actually say, is ahead at this stage, just due to taking no worker damage at all from this massive play as of yet.
Well, round 2 of the Hellions is going to be coming on in. A really large count still here that was reinforced just now, and a couple of the roaches here are going to be able to pick up a couple of them, a couple of blasts of those Blue Flame. Blue Flame doesn't do any bonus damage against roaches, so I don't know why he's fighting that, and actually he's going to be sandwiched in here, down to only 5 Hellions. That was an incredibly bad engagement there for Strelok, and that's going to be a pretty big problem for him, because he's going to be going up against a roach drop play. I was going to say all in, but he's grabbing a 4th, so he's not going full all in with this. He's probably just going to drop a few roaches in the main, try to do some damage, camp the production a little bit, and, well, this could be really good, because the tank production is also slowed down by the production of those Just massive, massive swarms of Hellions.
Well, there's currently only 3 tanks actually down on the field, and we're already at 11 minutes 30. Still though, I love that Strelok is continuing to be active with these Hellions. He's trying to force back most of the Roaches. He's going for a Hellbat drop into the main base as well. This isn't going to be easily defended. The Queen doing some nice damage there, and Strelok just not emptying that because he's got all of his attention on the Roaches that are actually doing a great job of taking out some tanks.
2 tanks already going down here, and what he's doing is really, really smart. Firecake is thinning out the tank numbers before he goes for this massive Roach drop play. 14 Roaches in production. He's already got a pretty high count of 16 on the field. 30 Roaches in your base, not really something you want as a Terran player.
It's not something you really want as any player, generally.
Yeah.
Unless they're your Roaches.
Oh god, even more sacrificial Hellions. And this is just already looking really bad for Strelok. It's going to be very hard to hold this off.
The Overlord's getting into position, generating creep just to enhance their move speed. Already gooped up this third base. That would be a nightmare to clean. But yeah, Firecake ready to move forward. The Hellions in position. The tank count only sitting at 2. 2 tanks and 1
god.
Thor to try and stop this.
Yeah, I think he's just dead. Here we go. The massive, massive cloud of Overlords moving on through here. This is an exceptionally hard push to hold anyway, even without having massive amounts of unit losses already. And here he comes, dropping on top of the army here. Really nice positioning by Strelok. Should actually be able to minimize damage by the looks of it. Really, really nicely done. However, lifting up that third CC is Strelok, as the Roaches did successfully force that on out. And now there's still Roaches in the main going to town. We have 15 worker kills already for Firecake. This third base is being completely denied. And even though he was able to survive and stave this off for now, he's already taken a ton of damage here. And he's already loading up again as Firecake going for the second drop on into the main.
20 plus more Roaches have been produced or are being produced. Firecake is committing to this. 180 supply up against 115. The Baneling Nest coming out for the first time this series for the Vega Squadron player. And without that third base, which is apparently chasing down the Viking, this is not looking too solid for Strelok. He's gonna have to put off a mighty good defense at the moment. And with these Roaches getting dropped down yet again, the tanks gonna start thinning all over.
Yeah, here we go, the unloading of those Roaches, and here we go. This is an absolutely evil play. There's really no way for Strelok to get in a good position against this, and with a nice concave from Firecake, he is going to be able to decimate the majority of the tanks, and in come more Roaches from behind, and this looks like it'll be a phenomenally short game compared to the rest of this series so far. Firecake looking like he's in prime position to take game number 3. There we go, GG, and Firecake takes a 2-1 lead in this best-of-5 series.
That means potentially Firecake 1 game away from advancing up into WCS EU Premier Season 1. Strelok 1 game away from having to re-qualify next season. That is tough, not what you want in the slightest. But the series was tied 1-1. It could still go either way. And that's actually very different to what we thought could have been happening, or what actually the stats were saying, which actually gave Strelok about an 80% chance to win this series.
Yeah, so, well, Strelok is on his last legs. And I'm interested to see what his map pick is going to be here. It's not loser pick. The maps are already predetermined, but I don't actually remember offhand what the maps are. So, have they posted it in the channel somewhere?
I'm not sure if they have. If they
Fourth
have,
map, Daedalus.
Okay, that's quite interesting.
That is a Firecake pick.
And that's obviously good news for Firecake, being a game up now, 1 game away from advancing forward into Premier. Getting your own map is a big thing. Now, Penguin, of course, you are a professional player, and you've competed in many tournaments. For those of us who haven't done that, why is getting your map pick so beneficial in this situation?
Well, basically, the map pick just gives you a little bit of an advantage. If you're sitting on your map, you say to yourself, I'm the one who wanted this map, so I should win this. It adds a little bit of pressure, perhaps, but the biggest problem isn't so much when you play on your own map, it's when you lose your own map. It's when you win your opponent's map, which is what Firecake just did. That last map, Heavy Rain, was a map pick of Strelok's. And Firecake just took that, which means that he now has the opportunity to play on a map that he wanted to play on, and he can close out the series by taking it.
And of course, that's what he's going to be aiming to do. We are just setting up the lobby at the moment. While we're waiting for that, make sure that if you've got any thoughts, what you would like to see in WCS, what games you think are going to go which way, drop us some tweets. It's the best way to get in touch. At Maddles91 and at MYI Penguin. throw in the hashtag WCS2, because that's when you really get to start things trending. Get in the conversation, let us know what you think. Of course, we are up on Reddit and also Team Liquid. Love to know your thoughts there too. This is, though, about to be game number 4. Deadless Point. Strelok versus Firecake. Firecake leading 2-1. And actually giving us, in the second series, a really close run for its money. That third game, though, very different tone and pace to the first two. Following on from this series, we will be getting into Starbuck up against Hero Marine. I'm very excited to see how that's going to go. Another ZVT. And then we'll finish off the night with Naniwa versus Stackyman. For the moment, though, we are just getting ready to go, 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 is being said in the lobby chat. So I suspect that means we're about to start. Penguin, do you think we're going to get the ace game in this best of 5? Can Strelok level out the series yet again?
Depends what Firecake really goes for here. I feel like a 1-1 Roach all-in, not with the drops, just like solid 1-1, very old school, not old school, but like it's been around for a few months. Just go for the 1-1 Roach player on 10 minutes with Roach speed and 1-1 and 30 Roaches. That's really good on this map because the map's it's the architecture of it is just that you have this massive, massive ramp into your natural. It's really hard to just cover. The natural's really, really big. The main is pretty big as well. You have a lot of space to cover. Tanks aren't really able to cover that much. Strelok hasn't been going for super early tanks either, so I feel like that kind of a play could be something that's very beneficial to Firecake.
Well, we are loading in. The game has started, so let's dive in and see whether Firecake is going to be able to advance this map into WCS EU Premier. Spawning in the top left of Deadless Point, we have got the blue Terran player representing Alien Invasion, losing the first and third game, but somewhat leveling it out in the second. He has got his WCS Season 1 life on the line this game. He has to win it to be in with a shot to get to Premier. It's Strelok. And his opponent down in the bottom right. The red Zerg player from Vega Squadron. He is one game away from advancing up into Premier. None other than Firecake.
Alright, so we don't have any kind of cheese coming out of these guys so far, which I guess isn't all too surprising. I don't think I've actually seen either of these guys cheese in at least a long, long time. I don't have any memory of seeing Firecake cheese. Strelok's done it at least once. He's been around long enough, but not in recent memory, so. Okay, this map is a bit of a map that a lot of people hate. This is actually kind of interesting. Firecake, where are you going with this drone?
The drone is off
that's
an
just
adventure.
A scout. That's just a scout. Okay, it's odd timing on the scout, but anyway.
Checking
we're just
for
gonna
rack
be seeing...
tracks.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not surprised, because what I was about to say is that this map is super duper good for Zerg overall. Not quite as bad for Terran as it is for Protoss. And actually for Mech Terran, it's not really all that horrendous either, which is why Strelok didn't veto it. Basically, both of these guys have one veto at the beginning. They can say, I don't want to play this map. And then that map is not in the pool, because the map pool has 7 maps, and there's only 5 that have to be played. So, Strelok must not hate it too much. And I have seen some pretty long, pretty epic games with Mech versus Zerg on here. Kane versus Goody has had a couple of pretty long games here. And, well, this will be kind of interesting to see what happens here, because it's very wide open. It's very good for Roach Hydra as well. It's something that I can definitely see Roach Hydra being an option for Firecake on, rather than Swarm Hosts.
Now, it's worth noting that you're saying Deadless Point is a very bad map for PvZ. Having said that, I was casting the My Insanity versus Vega Squadron in the ESS a couple of weeks ago, and in that Stardust actually beat Firecake going for a Swarm Host style on this map. So just because a map is favoured for a particular race due to common opinion or certain attributes of it, it is by no means a done deal. So Strelok is more than capable of doing this, and I would agree with your assessment, Penguin, that Deadless Point is a bit more balanced for TVZ than many think it is for PVZ. Therefore, Firecake can't go into this too overconfidently, because he does not want to be going into game number 5. That's where suddenly the pressure is equal, and you don't want that kind of pressure.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really tough for some players who are less experienced to just sort of take it in the ace game, because it's that moment where it's like, I've tried really hard, and I've played 2 really good games that got me 2 wins, and it might all amount to nothing. And both of these guys are pretty experienced, especially Strelok. Strelok's been around forever. Firecake, he's not quite as experienced, but he has been around for a while, so hopefully that wouldn't affect him too much in the Ace game, since he does have a lot of experience behind him too. He was in Premier at least one season, maybe two last year, if I can't remember exactly. And he was in, I think, every single challenge. Yeah, he was in every season of Challenger as well, so he's got a good amount of experience in the last year as well. But overall, basically, we're just killing time right now, guys. We're waiting to see what these guys are doing. We got speed on the way for our Firecake, and, well, pushing up momentarily for Strelok, and then we'll most likely be seeing a starport added on immediately. Since we don't have a double factory play again, it didn't work at all.
It got shut down really hard.
Not going for it. It was. Honestly, I was surprised you went for it in the first place, because, to be honest, Firecake was making initial roaches anyway every single game.
Now, for the moment, Firecake is going up to take his third hatchery, just as you expected, Penguin. We do have the starport coming down, as well as the tech lab there, so Banshee going to be making an appearance this game. Meanwhile, I love this bunker placement, and this is one of the problems that many people have with Daedalus Point, is just how open this base is. It can cause it a very awkward spot, because, say for example, Firecake happened to be going for a quick roach play. He wanders them up here, round the back, and he's attacking the mineral line well out of position of that bunker, and is safe in doing so. That's what can be awkward. So, for Firecake to be going nice and passive is actually good for Strelok. It means that he doesn't have to worry about that vulnerability. But, Strelok is actually going to be the aggressor here for the moment, since Firecake's only getting out 12 speedlings for the time being.
Yeah, the 12 speedlings aren't to be aggressive either. They're pretty much just to be able to shut down the Hellions a little better, and because if we have Cloak Banshees coming in, which is what we have on the menu, and he does know that, he does see the starport, he does see the upgrading tech lab, so he's getting the Hellions, because if the Hellions and the Banshees are able to deal damage to the Queens without any link support dealing with the Hellions, all of a sudden the Queens will just have no chance anymore. So Firecake, just being a little careful. Once again, losing the Overlord that he sent into the main. That's very, very sloppy. Usually if you're a Zerg player and you send a guy into the main, you send an Overlord into the main, you make 1 or 2 extra Overlords already because you know it's going to die. The point of sending it into the main is to sacrifice it for information. So, a little bit sloppy by Firecake, but it's not going to be the end of the world by any means whatsoever.
Oh, this
is
much
smart. Later Roach Warren coming
Penguin.
in.
Firecake, realizing the Hellions are out on the map, going to exploit how open Daedalus is by sending a speedling run by straight into the natural base. This should rack up a couple of kills. 2 Widow Mines are there for the moment, hoping Firecake's realize that they're in possession, but already 4 worker kills going down with a couple of lings. They are continuing up into the main base. 1 detonation will go down from the Widow Mine. The second one going to be bigger if it's able to connect, but speedlings don't trigger them as they're moving. It is cleaned up, lost mining time though, a bit of damage done, and smart thinking by Firecake.
That was really cute, actually. It didn't work, but with the second Widow Mine, Firecake was trying to get it to activate and detonate all over the Hellions. He had the Lings not even attacking, just sort of getting as close to the Hellions as possible, close to the middle of the clump. Didn't quite work, but if it had, it would have been really cute. Really good push, though, by or poke, rather, from Firecake, with 5 workers killed, as pointed out. And now, he, more importantly, also bought himself more time. He bought himself time to get some more Lings out, to get some more Queens out, to be able to get his defense set up a little better. And there comes the Cloak on the Banshees. A lot of Hellions here, too. One of the Queens looking very low on health already will go down. Ling flank coming in from behind. We'll get a pretty good surround on a couple of the Hellions, but the third one that was surrounded does get away. Already, though, 4 or 5 Hellions have gone down. 3 remain. 1 Banshee also getting very close to death there. The Overseer coming in a little bit late. Will finally be picked off now by the looks of it. Nope, not quite. We'll get away.
The Banshee getting away is important. They're very expensive units. You want to be able to continue using them. Strelok likely to pull them back and just repair them up nice and fast. Meanwhile, Firecake able to pin them against the wall. A couple more Hellions with those Lings, shutting him down. And he's going to go for some aggression of his own. Not at all in. He's got 7 more drones coming in behind this. But he's got a sizable number of units if he did want to go and put on some pain. But if nothing else, is very secure that Strelok can't really move out against this amount of Lings and Roaches.
Yeah, there's so many Lings on the field. It's actually a change up for Firecake. He hasn't really been going Lings at all. He's been going to straight Roaches in most of the game so far. 36 Lings on the map. Not really all that big of a deal as far as difference goes, but we do have a Hydra Den coming in with an Infestation Pit this time around, so this could be Roach Hydra Viper, like I was pointing out. It doesn't... We're not seeing the Spire that we saw in the other 2 macro games from him. The Infestation Pit could still be for Swarm Hosts, but usually he has gone that after Muta, so it is a change up either way.
For the moment,
pick off in the middle of the map.
Oh, nice little pick off, overcome a lot of these Hellions. But what I'm keeping a close eye on is what Strelok's composition's gonna be. Whether he makes as many tanks as he has been previously, whether he adds in a couple of Thors. Looking at his vision, he hasn't seen too much as of yet, as far as I can see. He only knows that there was that Roach on there. Unfortunately, getting a little bit of lag issues again on one of the observers. Graham.
Damn it, Graham.
But yeah, this is a nice little point to reflect on what we've seen so far. So neither player taking very significant losses as of yet. Probably the key point so far was just that speedling run by into the natural base, which was a good move by Firecake. Caused Strelok to have to retreat to deal with it. But all in all, neither player making any significant missteps as of yet. Neither player getting crazy ahead. Yes, Firecake has a small supply advantage, but at the kind of just before the 12-minute mark, you'd expect to see that, especially with a decent number of roaches down.
Yeah, so we do have the 4th base coming up, and that's going to allow Firecake to really sort of kickstart his economy, but we have muscular arguments on the way, so it is definitely going to be Roach, Hydra, Viper by the looks of it. Swarm Host, still a possibility for a transition later in the game, but as you mentioned, or as we mentioned earlier in the game, it's just not a great game for Swarm Hosts, or a great map for Swarm Hosts, so I don't think we're going to be seeing that out of Firecake this time around.
Now, we do note that +1 missile attack already finished for Firecake. Strelok, on the other hand, his upgrades, currently sitting at 0-0, does have +1 half done, but is a tad behind. Not getting the double armory upgrades either, which is what we have seen from him in the previous games this series.
A little bit uncharacteristic of him to be so far behind in upgrades, as +2 is nearing about 1/3 completion for Firecake here. And the Hive has also started, so I think we're going to be seeing a bit of a push here when +2 finishes with Grooved Spines +2, 2 or 3 Vipers, and just a whole bunch of Hydras. And we don't actually have that many Roaches, so it's going to be mostly Ling Hydra if he doesn't make any more Roaches.
In addition, Firecake has his 4th base up. He just went for a 12 drone wave, taking him up pretty steady. 84 drones on the field for the time being. That's a great drone count to have at this stage. His economy flourishing. Strelok also in a good economic spot. A little behind in the worker count, but he has got mules to fall back on for that. Hellbat Drop, trying to get some damage done, isn't achieving much though for the time being. And if we just really look at this game for the moment, I suspect you're correct, Penguin. The Firecake is looking to start applying pressure once his Hive's done and once +2 and Group Spines are finished.
We do have a bunch of Spines being added on here, so he is adding on the static defense, which will allow him to not take damage once he does move out on the map. He will actually pick up the medevac as well, so a nice little pickup there for that Queen, Hero Queen. Did still have a Hellbat in it, so that's a nice little pick off. More so than usual. 5 Vipers on the way. That's a bit of a large number. That's more than I would expect to see here.
It's more than he's got previously as well. Previously he's been sitting at either 3 or 4. 5 straight off the bat is significant, but I can see why as well. Because he doesn't have the Swarm Host play, he's kind of got more of a one shot at the push in to take out this mech army. So he wants a decent number of Blinding Clouds and also of Ducks available. So those 5 Vipers could come in very handy. It's just whether Firecake has the money to get the supporting units, but considering he's maxed out, I'd say yes, he does.
Yeah, so we have double starports being added on as well now, so Strelok is going to be looking to go into that Sky transition, which is not gonna be great for him if he's hit with a timing while he's trying to tech switch. That's a lot of money that's not really being put to good use at the moment, and Firecake could be looking to hit a very strong timing. 15 minutes already maxed out with all of these Vipers. The current count of the units is 27 Roaches, 10 Hydras. Not a huge number of Hydras, but it is going to be enough to deal with the Banshees and stuff like that. And then additionally, we do have the good 25 Old Lings in there as well. The army's not super big because he does have 87 workers behind this. But here we go, a couple of Blinding Clouds going on down to start things off. All of the tanks are incapacitated, and he pushes at the front with the Roaches and the Hydras, doing a ton of damage as our Zerg player as he pushes on forward.
The tank's completely nullified, allows all of this swarm to bolster in, just taking down anything in its path. The tanks have been able to reposition and siege back up, but there's only one remaining. GG is called. Firecake, therefore,